I think people are starting to realize that Clemson still plays football. They are the defending ACC champs, and they got a very favorable schedule. Realistically, they could go 12-0 in the regular season. At South Carolina could be a road trap if Spencer Rattler is still performing well as a quarterback. But I'm sorry, like week 4, I'm gonna have to take them to beat Florida State in the regular season. Florida State's gonna be a very good team, but they're coming off of that most likely, I think, a tough LSU loss. I think Jordan Travis is good. He's probably the best quarterback they've had since, let's just say it, Jameis Winston. But Clemson's got the infrastructure. Clemson's got it at home. I think those two are going to play in the ACC title game with Clemson being the higher seed.
Yeah, so that's interesting. I also have Florida State and Clemson playing for the ACC title. And I think what's really interesting about this is in 2023, the ACC is getting rid of divisions. Obviously, historically, those two schools could not play in the ACC championship because they were playing in the same division. Now they get to play, I think, week 3 or week 4 of the regular season. And then I think that there's going to be a rematch later on in the conference title game. I have Florida State coming out of the ACC as the ACC title winner this year. And the reason I pick that for a couple of reasons. One, I really like what they did in the transfer portal this offseason, adding Keon Coleman. That's a wide receiver 1 for Jordan Travis to throw to on the offensive side. And I think maybe the biggest return in college football outside of Olu Fashanu at Penn State, their left tackle, is maybe Jared Verse coming back to Florida State on the edge. So that should give Florida State a really good edge rusher coming off of their defensive line, which they need to get good pressure on opposing teams this year. And you look at where Clemson's at, their defensive line has kind of started to struggle here over the last couple of years in comparison to some of their national championship winning teams. They lose Brisset on the defensive line. He's obviously a first-round pick. And then, I do think the addition of Garrett Riley on the offensive side as their new offensive coordinator coming over from TCU, I like what you're doing there with the 2 thumbs up. I think that's a really good hire by Dabo Swinney. But I'm still a little skeptical about how much that can really influence Clemson's offense. I am a believer in Cade Klubnik. He's a former 5-star. But he didn't play much last year. When he did play, he wasn't great. He was fine in the Orange Bowl against Tennessee, but he wasn't great. And I will also say I think that the expectations that people have for freshman 5-star quarterbacks has been highly inflated because of what we saw Tua do in the second half of the national championship game against Georgia back in the 2017 CFP. And then obviously think back to what Trevor Lawrence did when he was inserted for Clemson back, that'd been in 2018, I believe, right?
There's been a lot of redshirt freshmen that kind of excel. Think about it. Johnny Manziel, Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota. These guys can have a lot of success right off the bat. I think getting Garrett Riley is huge. It's Dabo Swinney admitting you need to make some changes. He used to always brag about staying in-house, having the same assistants for 10 years. And now he goes to TCU and grabs, pretty much the guy that got them to the national title. People like Sonny Dykes, but a big, big story on the side was, holy crap, Garrett Riley can call plays. So I like Clemson, and I'm going to be honest with you. I think Clemson wins the regular season. But when the two rematch in the ACC title, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm just pretty confident that those two are going to get there with Clemson having the higher seed. Gun to my head, I think Florida State probably wins a rematch. I think Florida State has better wide receiver talent.